Good morning, friends. How are you? So, as we continue our home learning, we will be having our story time. I know you love reading, so I want you to get your learner's book, and we will be reading the story of Paul Bunyan. Open your book on page 126. A Tall Tale. Are we on the same page now? Great. So read together with me. Make sure to start with the title. The Story of Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan was the biggest baby ever born. He was a good baby, but he was always very hungry. When Paul was hungry, he cried so loudly that the house used to shake and the windows used to break. The frogs in the pond started wearing earplugs. For breakfast every day, Paul Bunyan's mom and dad fed him 12 eggs, a loaf of bread, 10 bananas, 24 pancakes with lots of syrup. Pancakes were Paul's favorite food. Paul grew bigger and bigger. He grew 2 centimeters every day. By the time Paul was 7, he was taller than the tallest home in his village. His family decided to move north where there would be more room for Paul to grow. "I am sad to leave our house," said Paul's mom. "Let's take it with us," said Paul. He picked up the house with his mom and dad inside and carried it over the mountains and rivers. Paul went to school, but he was too big to fit inside the school building. He had to lie outside on the grass and watch through the window. After school, the children used to come and play with Paul, but sometimes he felt lonely. "What's the matter?" Paul's mom asked. "I wish I had a friend who was my size," Paul said to his mom. One winter there was a huge snowstorm. Paul heard something crying outside. He went out in the storm to see who was there. He dug through the snow and found a baby ox. A very big baby ox, just the right size to be Paul's friend. The ox was so cold that it had turned blue. Paul brought the ox inside. He called the ox Babe. Paul and Babe, the blue ox, became best friends. They loved wrestling together. At night, Paul used to read bedtime stories to Babe. On his 18th birthday, Paul's parents gave him a huge axe for cutting down trees. Paul loved his axe. He could cut down a tree with a single swing of his axe. "I'm going to be a logger," said Paul. Paul and Babe, the blue ox, set out for the big forests. They met a group of strong men, and together they became a team of loggers. The men cut down trees with their axes, and Babe dragged the logs to a long curvy river. The logs floated down the river to the town where they were sold. Paul and the loggers worked so fast that the river filled with logs. The logs got stuck in the curves of the river. Paul hitched Babe to the end of the river. Babe pulled and pulled until the river was straight. The logs became unstuck and floated quickly to the town. All the loggers loved eating, just like Paul. Their favorite food was pancakes. But the cook only had one small griddle. He couldn't make enough pancakes for everyone to eat. So one day, Paul dug some metal out of a mountain and made a griddle as big as a lake. He gave the griddle to a cook. "The griddle is perfect," said the cook. The cook's helpers put pieces of butter on their feet and skated around the griddle. The cook made hundreds of pancakes. The lumberjacks and Babe ate pancakes until they couldn't eat anymore. So, that is the story of Paul Bunyan. Isn't it interesting how a baby becomes that big and how Babe become his new friend, the blue ox? So he's not only giant, but he's also helpful and kind because he is helping his parents as well as the loggers working as a logger. Now, let's try to estimate the height of Paul. Estimate means you are trying to guess the closest possible height of Paul. because we don't know what exactly, okay? Now, let's take the 1-year-old height of an average baby, since he started as a baby in the story. So, the usual height of a baby is 75 centimeters. So before the mom and dad feed Paul, he started with a 75 centimeters in height. So it says there that in one day, Paul grew 2 centimeters. How about in 1 week? How many days are there in 1 week? 7. So 7 times 2 centimeters, how many does Paul grow to? It's 14 centimeters. If let's say 1 month with 30 days, how many centimeters does Paul grow to? It's 30 times 2 equals 60 centimeters. How about in a year, which has 365 days? How many centimeters does Paul grow? It is 730 centimeters. So, after a year, when Paul turns 2, he will be adding 730 centimeters to his original height, which is 75 centimeters. But in our story, it says there, before they transferred, Paul reached 7 years old first. So, we need 6 more years to complete the 7 years. So 730 times 6 years equals 4,380 centimeters. So in 6 years, he will grow until 4,380, and we will be adding to the original height of Paul, the average height, which is 75. How long does he grow before at the age of 7? So it's 4,455 centimeters by the time that he reached 7 years old. Imagine how tall he really is. He's really even bigger and taller than the tallest house in their village, right? So, at the age of 7 years old, this little baby from 75 centimeters turns into 4,455 centimeters in height. A gigantic kind of big kid. Next, one question in our story is this. Why did Paul's family decide to move when Paul was 7? Why do they need to move? Why did they not just stay in the area where they used to live? It is because Paul's family decided to move because Paul needed more room to grow. The space becomes smaller and smaller as Paul becomes bigger and bigger. So they need more space, and it is present at the north, so they need to go to the north, wherein Paul can have more space for him to grow. Now, our question starts with the word why. Whenever you answer a why question, make sure you use the word because this will be the reason, the clue for your reason or explanation as to why Paul decided to move with his parents. So again, when you have a why question, make sure you use because on your answer. Another is the question has the word decide. But why is it that in my answer, it has become decided? From present, it becomes past. It is because of the word did. If the why question followed by a did, it means that the question is asking for a past answer. So your action word here must turn into a past tense. So Paul's family decided to move because Paul needed more room to grow. So again, make sure that when you answer a why question, you have to use because, and if the question is the word did, you have to change your action word into a past tense. I hope I'm making myself clear on this. Let's try another one. Why did the frogs who live near baby Paul's house start wearing earplugs? Did you get it right? Let's see. The frogs started wearing earplugs because Paul cried so loud. Maybe because it's too loud, it is making their ears hurt or painful. So again, why must use because. Start must be started. So on your activity book, page 108, 1 and 2 are already answered a while ago. Let's try to answer number 3. Why did Paul feel lonely when he was in school? Paul felt lonely because he wished he had a friend who was his size. Because he is the only one who is that big or that gigantic. Most of his friends at school are tiny. So even though he wants to play with them more often, it's very difficult because it will be dangerous for those who are tiny friends. Maybe if they were like playing, like running around, it would be dangerous that those kids might be stepped on, right? So he wished he had a friend who was his size. Now, for number 4 and number 5, I will let you do it on your own later, okay? So another sentence. Let's take it with us, said Paul. This is the answer when Mom felt sad about leaving their house. Now there are 3 things that I want to point out here. First is these 2 symbols. We call them speech marks. This sentence is the dialogue or the line of Paul. If you're making a sentence with the exact word that the characters have said, you have to use speech marks. So 1 at the beginning and 1 at the end of the sentence. Usually, at the end of the sentence, you will see the word said, asked, or answered. That will be your clue where to put the next or the second speech mark. Aside from that is this one. Remember, when writing a sentence, you must always start with a capital letter. Aside from the start of a sentence, you should also capitalize or make it a big letter if there is a name of a person, place, or the specific name. So you have to use capital letters. Third is this. We call them punctuation marks. So it can be question mark, exclamation mark, full stop, or a comma. So those are examples of punctuation marks. So in this case, you will have to use 2 punctuation marks. 1 at the end of the actual line of the character, and 1 at the end of the actual sentence. So like in this case, let's take it with us. It's a sentence full of emotion, so you will use punctuation mark, that is exclamation point. And then full stop at the end of the sentence. This one usually ends with a full stop, but this one must change. For example, the line is about a question, so you must use a question mark. If it has strong feelings, then you have to use exclamation mark. If it's just a normal sentence, you can use full stop or a comma if there will still be a continuation of it. So again, speech marks, capital letter, and punctuation marks are what you will see whenever you read or you write a storyline that the character is actually speaking. I hope I'm making myself clear on this as well. So let's try. Make these sentences correct. Use capital letters, speech marks, commas, question marks, exclamation marks, and full stop. So for number 1, I am sad to leave our little house, said Paul's mom. So first, remember to use the speech mark. Second, capital letters and punctuation marks. Try it. Let's see if your answer is correct. You have to use the speech mark, capital letter, another punctuation mark here, speech mark, and ends with a full stop. Did you get it right? Great. Now for number 2 and number 3, you will have to do it on your own following our rules. Okay? So for your homework, you have to continue answering page 108 of your activity book, and don't forget to send it through Google Classroom to be checked and scored. Another reminder is on Wednesday you will be having your second unit test, which is on 20 of May 2020. Don't forget to study the lessons under Unit 9, Big and Little. So that includes our lesson for today. So make sure you study very well, and that will be all for today, friends. Bye!